following podcast is a Jill Divine Media production.
Christianity has become known for judgy people, strange words, ancient stories, confusing rules, and a members-only mindset. This is why I stayed away from the church for so long, but it's not supposed to be that way. I'm Jill Divine, a former radio personality with 3 tattoos, a love for a good tequila, and who's never read the entire Bible. Yet, here I am, hosting a podcast about faith. The Normal Goes a Long Way podcast is your home for real conversations with real people using real language about how faith and real life intersect. Welcome to the conversation.
Welcome to this week's episode of Normal Goes a Long Way. I'm here with Katie, and we were joking around, Katie, about your last name. We won't go into what Siri calls your last name, but it is kind of funny. Katie Lysak, welcome to the podcast. I am so excited to talk to you and get more information about what you're doing. You are the executive director at the Sparrow's Nest. How we got connected, our church, Messiah St. Charles, has a vision to be for St. Charles. And what does that mean? Well, that means that we want to be here for our community. We want to be in the community. We want to help others. We want to spread the word to our congregation about what is happening around us. And I know a lot of churches have different ways of putting that. It may not be their vision, but it's part of their DNA is to be in the community, which is so important. I mean, it's exactly what Scripture tells us to do. And one of the things that our church does around Christmas time, we have a Christmas offering. And so we collect money, and then as a staff, we usually decide together, we pick anywhere for 2 to 3 organizations. And one of the recipients was the Sparrow's Nest. And that was the first time that I had even heard about the Sparrow's Nest. And so then now you're in front of the congregation, and then those people here, they tell others. And so that's what we're going to do today. We are going to talk about what the Sparrow's Nest does. Even if you are not local to St. Charles, this is helpful information that will get you thinking too, whether or not it's your church or your organization, how to get involved. So let's first talk about Katie as Katie. Katie, you're married.
Yeah.
Do you have children?
I do. I have 2, Hope and Blaine.
And how old are they?
12 and 10.
12 and 10. And are you from this area?
Not originally. My husband and I have lived here 20 years this year. We moved from Central Illinois.
Okay.
So I'm from Springfield. He's from Wheaton. We met in the middle in Bloomington Normal. We both went to Illinois State University. And then we moved here in 2004 for his work.
All right. Well, it probably feels a little bit like you've been here. Not that far off.
We've lived in the same house the whole 20 years, North Wentzville. Yep. We've watched Wentzville grow.
Wentzville is a suburb outside of St. Charles that has definitely grown and grown and grown. It's crazy.
At one point, especially the north part where we lived, was the fastest growing part of the country, the state for sure. But we were in that country category for a while too.
Let's fast forward. How long have you been with the Sparrow's Nest?
I was hired as the executive director in September of last year.
Okay, so this is new.
Yeah, kind of.
Fairly new.
Yes.
What did you do before this?
I was the executive director at Oasis Resource Center, which is the only pregnancy resource center in Lincoln County. I was there for 3 years.
Okay.
So grew that organization substantially. It was a wonderful place. Loved it, loved it, loved it. I just really felt a calling to work in my community. Kind of like coming home. That's
one of those things too. You sometimes don't get to see what you're doing with your work, but in other, like as far as it impacting your community, and in other situations you do get to see it. And there's just something really beautiful about having your hands and your feet right where you live. And that's definitely something that we talk a lot about here at Messiah. I have noticed that in one of my roles here with being in charge of our community groups, so many people want to serve. And it's not wrong to want basically a menu of, hey, here's this organization, here's what you can do. But we've learned that what people when they start to realize what their unique gifts are and how they can help, where it's not just in the city, I'm doing quotes here because there are problems and situations everywhere.
Yep.
And so when you really start to challenge people to look right in their neighborhood, that's when you start to see some light bulbs go off and you start to see passion.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the jump to the Sparrow's Nest and what the Sparrow's Nest does.
Sure. A lot of the county and the community may recognize the name. We are formerly a maternity home for teens. So Carissa Figgins is our founder. And in 2010 was when she really got things going to found the organization, get Sparrow's Nest off the ground. At that time, if you were a pregnant woman, not a minor, there were places for you to go if you were homeless. If you were a minor and not pregnant, there were places for you to go if you were homeless. If you were a pregnant teen, there was nowhere for you to go.
Which seems backwards, but
yes,
okay.
Definitely. It's the minor. It's because being a minor and the whole kind of custody guardianship type of thing, really. But so she just took it and ran with it and created just this beautiful thing with the Sparrow's Nest and fundraised and was eventually able to buy the house that we are still in. It's on the south end of Kay, kind of tucked away. It's unincorporated St. Charles County. It's like a little piece of the country right on Highway K. Breadco is at the end of our driveway, which is absolutely amazing. We're in the SIPS club and, we'll walk down there and get our tea or our coffee or whatever. It's fantastic.
That's nice.
It's
yes.
Very nice. But yeah, so we still are in the building, but now we are no longer a maternity home. That programming essentially ended in 2020. There were some things that happened, kind of across the world in that year, but staffing became a huge problem for us. We just couldn't keep the staff, and with maternity housing, there are state requirements. And so they ended the programming for a little bit, tried to get it going again in 2022, and faced the same issue with staffing. Just could not staff the house to be able to bring in women and their children to live there. So the board really saw that as an opportunity to step back. Maybe the Lord was leading them in a different direction for the organization. They knew that they didn't want to cease to exist as a nonprofit or as an organization. They wanted to continue to serve St. Charles County. We just didn't know how. So they did some research, found the three biggest opportunities for individuals at or below the poverty level in St. Charles County. One is affordable housing. It's almost non-existent.
Yeah.
It's not just St. Charles County. It's all over the place, but it really is a problem in St. Charles County. And even for the largest, most well-funded organizations, that is a very expensive thing to provide for people. Rent, mortgage, whatever it might be. So then public transportation, also non-existent in St. Charles County. Affordable childcare. That was number 3. And so we figured, I wasn't there then, but it's we, really took a look at how we could provide affordable childcare to low-income families in St. Charles County. So our project manager, our case manager, Becca, did a bunch of research and found an organization in Houston, Texas called Project One Day. They essentially hire the parent as a 1099 worker. They work 1 full day and trade that work for 5 days of free daycare. It's a smaller organization. They don't have, I think they're growing, but we don't really have too much contact with them. We just got a little information and decided we were going to try to replicate that here. So we stayed in the house that we're in and started going through the planning and zoning, all of the steps in order to open a childcare cooperative at the Nest. We were hoping to be able to open with 10. Initially, our conditional use permit through the county was going to allow for 10, and then we're in the Cottleville Fire District with a couple different things, kind of challenges with the house. They approved us for 5 kids.
Okay.
Which is not a incredible, maybe impact when some people think of the number of only being 5. Honestly, it was a blessing in disguise because there were a lot of kind of kinks to work out in the programming, in the process. So what differentiates us from Project One Day is we don't consider the parent who is enrolled to be a worker or even a volunteer. We make a clear distinction that they are participating in the program. So we call them a participant. The child enrolls, the parent enrolls. The child receives all of the benefits of being in an early childhood program. We are licensed through DESE. Our lead provider has a lot of experience in childcare. The parent is required to fulfill certain parts of the programming, and that's the trade for the 5 free days of daycare. So they participate 4 hours a week. It started as one full day, and we really saw that as a barrier. No employers are going to give their employee an entire day off of work in order to get free daycare. There are a lot of part-time workers out there. One of our minimum requirements is that they are working at least 25 hours a week and or enrolled in an education program or a combination of the two. So as we were trying to fill the house with the 5 kids and get enrolled, we kept coming up against, but I'm working full-time. So we identified that very quickly as a barrier. So we've reduced that to 4 hours a week, and that can be 1 4-hour day or 2 hours a day.
Okay.
So, they have to drop off their kiddo, and they have to pick up their kiddo. So whether they stay in the morning or they stay in the afternoon, that kind of thing, or if they do have one day off during the week, maybe they do a 4-hour day, that's completely up to the parent who's enrolled. While they're there, they receive 1 hour of case management, 1 hour of parent education through our online curriculum. It's called Bright Course. 1 hour of working with their own child on emerging milestones or developmental delays, and those are identified by using the Ages and Stages questionnaire. We use the developmental one and the social emotional one. So the lead provider performs the questionnaire on the child, and then so does the parent, and then they come together with their results of the questionnaires and create an individualized lesson plan for the parent to carry out with their own child while they're there. So it's kind of like a parents as teachers type of thing, except we're not going into their home. They're coming to ours. And then the 4th hour is kind of up to our discretion and how we use that. We have one mama who loves to organize. And so she'll organize our snack cabinet and the fridges, and she's fantastic at that. They might use it to go to a WIC appointment, or if there's another service that is only accessible during the time that they're at the nest, they'll go and do that. Different things. That last hour is, looks different for everyone.
It's one of those things that is going in my mind, lots of things, but when you say that you can only have 5 kids,
yes,
and yet we want to talk about the opportunity, but yet you don't want to have more than 5 kids, and you don't want people on a wait list, and you don't want it. Just that's so hard.
It is hard. So, and I understand what Cottleville Fire Marshal, the requirements that, because it's about safety.
Yeah.
So there's a fire hydrant down our driveway. It needs to be 500 feet closer in order for us to have more children. We possibly could have up to 10 in the home, or maybe even 8. I'd be thrilled with 8, ecstatic with 10. To move that fire hydrant 500 feet closer would cost $50,000 to $70,000. And that is an estimate from an individual from a company who would be really doing us, we would be getting some discounts. It could be very expensive to move that fire hydrant. And so we're up against some difficulties. So with only having 5, the program has, next month, August, will be 1 year since we opened our doors as the co-op. We've really worked out the kinks with the programming. We've had some great participants who have been flexible with us, knowing that, we have to figure out how to kind of make this work, for everybody. So we think we really have a great foundation for our program. We really have a great program for the kiddos. It's since we're in a home, we're technically an in-home childcare provider. It feels like home. We eat in a kitchen. Our backyard is huge and it's fenced in, and we have so many different play areas. We do water play. We have playgrounds. There's critters, in the backyard, and it really is just a great environment for the kids to kind of grow up in, right, at school, at preschool. And the participants love being there. It really does feel like home. But we can't have any more than 5, and it really sounds like there aren't, unless we move that fire hydrant. That's our biggest thing. But that would only get us up to 10. Doubling is our goal. If we were able to identify another building, moving, even if there was another house somewhere that we could buy, sell the one that we're in, we need a decent sized parking lot, though. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Houses usually don't have parking lots. But to be able to have 10, maybe for another 1 to 2 years, so that we could double. We want to make sure that we grow wisely and don't kind of overwhelm ourselves, because we're not a daycare. We are a social service organization that is providing free, no cost childcare to families who are living at or below the poverty level. But that's only kind of a piece of what the Sparrow's Nest is doing. We kind of operate under the notion of we want to serve families from conception to kindergarten. So we offer pregnancy resource programming, is what we're calling pregnancy help programming. So we have material resources, we have parent education. We use the same thing, Bright Course. We have referrals. We have our case manager. She will do case management with the parents that come into our pregnancy resource program. They could be pregnant, or their children can already be born. And our goal is that we would maybe walk with the pregnant mamas or mamas with young kiddos and kind of use that as sort of a feeder pattern into the childcare. So it's just one big program, not silos of an organization.
Well, it's like not having Band-Aids, so to speak. I mean, you have probably started to see multiple organizations will now say, okay, we have addressed the problem and we want to help fix it, but we can't just put a Band-Aid on it. We have to educate. We have to show financial budgeting. We have to show responsibility. You can't just say, all right, we'll take care of this for right now, and then expect someone and to just go out on their own. And I'm talking all kinds of things.
Oh, absolutely. Even, a lot of the programs that we would maybe consider welfare, food stamps, WIC, they can be good programs. Sometimes they're not designed to really help the family who's starting to come out of those programs. Maybe they have received a raise at work, and just enough that it then kicks them out of the income requirements for the program. And so now they don't get that resource anymore, which food would maybe cost more than their raise. And so they're kind of back in the position that they were in, but it looks like on paper they make more money.
Yeah.
And everything costs so much more.
Oh,
everything, and even thinking about looking at buildings, I've looked at a number of properties. I have a friend who's a commercial real estate agent in the area, and I'll drive past a location and say, hey, text him like, hey, tell me about this one. Look it up. How much is it? Can we go look at it? And everything has been $1 million or more. Everything, and it's just kind of discouraging. And when we get individuals go to our website to submit an interest form, we ask for a little bit of information on our website. We call them back, we talk to them. I always take the address that they give us and put it on a Google map, and so that we can pinpoint where our interest forms are coming from. Kind of life to date for the co-op, we have received not quite 150 interest forms throughout, and they have come from Lincoln County, St. Louis County, all over the place, but right now we're restricting to kiddos who live in St. Charles County. Most of our interest forms have come from the 70 corridor, from Wentzville into St. Charles City, and just down, 94 to kind of the Harvester area. That is where the clusters are when I input them on the map. We're down on the south end of K, and if we took even a 5-mile radius of our location, there's only like 2 or 3 interest forms. And so we have individuals who are driving from St. Charles to South O'Fallon to drop off their kiddo and then going back to work in the St. Charles area. That's still more economically feasible for their family than paying for childcare at a center. But we know we need to move.
What is the program life? Or maybe, does that make sense? Like,
Sure.
How long are you able to stay in it?
Until their kiddo is eligible for kindergarten, until they are old enough to enroll in kindergarten.
Okay, so the soonest the child can come in
6 weeks.
6 weeks. So somebody could be there from 6 weeks to
Sure, until they go to kindergarten. Yep.
Which, I mean,
and at this point, even if they were to, let's say, income out, our program right now isn't designed that we would then kick them out. As long as they're fulfilling the requirements, participating in the program the way that it's designed, we would still have a spot for them. And daycare can cost as much as college now. So
right.
We're kind of across K from this magnificent castle-like daycare, that's about $2,000 a month
Mm-hmm.
for one kiddo. And that is amazing for families who choose to send their kiddo there, whether they can afford it or not. I've known so many women who worked just essentially to pay for daycare because staying at home wasn't the right financial choice for them, which I completely get. And so they did work while their kiddos were little, preschool age, and essentially their income went to paying for daycare.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of talk about that. I mean, that's why there's the tax credits and stuff like that. It's just
There isn't a tax credit for childcare. I mean, there's the one that parents can claim, and they're like the federal. So our state, for 3 years now, I don't think it's been a full maybe Senate session, so 4 years. But Governor Parson, this was really something he wanted to get done. It was 3 different types of childcare tax credits just for the state of Missouri for Missouri state income taxpayers and businesses. So one of them was childcare providers would be able to get a tax credit on our payroll taxes. That would be huge for an organization like the Sparrow's Nest because we're not for profit. There was a corporate business side tax credit, and then there was a more kind of individual donation type of tax credit. So it wasn't really a tax credit, this one, for parents who are paying for childcare. That was, these past 2 sessions, was essentially stomped on and smothered into the ground by our Senate. It passed the House. It did not make it, I think it made it out of Senate committee, but it was destroyed on the floor.
Well, that's something that when you first started talking about everything with the zoning and this and that, I'm thinking all of these hoops that you have to go through. And trust me, I understand the limitations that are put for safety. I support that.
Agreed.
100%. But what is so hard are the individuals who are trying to do something really, really good for their community. And there's lots of roadblocks or there's hurdles and there's this and that. And I always joke around about certain things about how, it only just takes one bad apple. And I get that.
Sure. Yeah.
But I can't even imagine the fight that you have in you to just keep going and keep going and keep going.
It truly is a passion. Our board members, our staff at the Nest, we are all fully invested in this mission. We want to see it through. We want to see it succeed. I dream of multiple locations. I dream of a Lincoln County location, a Wentzville location, a North O'Fallon location, St. Charles City, and having multiple Sparrow Nest childcare locations throughout. And they don't have to be giant. It doesn't have to be a location that is 50 kids or 100 kids. It could be somewhere kind of, smaller where there's maybe 20, then there's space throughout. Because really when it comes down to it, the case management aspect, hiring case managers, retaining them, and then having a caseload of possibly 20, that's a lot of families.
Yeah.
So keeping kind of that caseload around 10 and really one of the challenges with some of the other nonprofit or organizations that do provide some kind of childcare, a lot of in the county, the early childhood centers through the districts, most of them are kind of half-day programs. They do have full-day programs. Now, those aren't free unless the kiddos are receiving different services. And so those programs are kind of a little, different than what we do. Great programs. And then there's Head Start, who their hours are not fantastic. I think they're only open till like 2, and so if you're a working parent, that probably isn't going to work for you. And then it's needs-based. So the highest needs get the spots first, which that I totally understand that makes sense. Where we are a little bit different. We really don't go by needs-based, but we do take into consideration if a kiddo has any special needs, if we are able to really care for them well and in the way that they need to be cared for. So hopefully as we grow and are able to maybe bring on a therapist, but we are if the kiddo is enrolled in a program, we are always happy to have if they're getting ABA therapy, or if they're getting speech therapy or something, like, they can always, even parents as teachers, we offer the space for the parents as teachers educator to meet with the parent while they're at the nest. If I know sometimes people have reservations about, social services coming into their home. So we offer the time and the space and the opportunity for those things to occur at the nest. So we really want to work with our participants, with the kiddos, with other service agencies to create kind of the best scenario for the kiddo.
Do you have an example, or have you been a part of someone who has aged out, or you've seen the progress that has been made?
We haven't been open long enough to have a kiddo age out. We do have a kiddo who, if he goes to early childhood, if they're able to provide transportation, bus transportation, we could continue to enroll him half days. We're kind of stuck in between do we take, since we only have 5 spots, do we allow a full spot to be taken up by a half day kiddo, or do we not accommodate that and then open up, the wait list again for a full spot? We're not quite there yet. We've just kind of had these conversations. But we have seen a lot of progress. We've had kiddos come who, kind of the typical COVID baby, born in kind of that, that time frame, just really not a lot of speech, not a lot of words, social, emotional, kind of on the lower end of the spectrum, simply because not having just a whole lot of exposure to, being an only child and, not having other kiddos in the home and just, different things like that. That is a challenge that so many kiddos who are entering the preschool, kindergarten now the districts are, especially speech. But yeah, no, we have seen just incredible growth in a couple different kiddos, even just having a lot of words now and speaking in paragraphs, even just in a short period of time is really, really great. And using the ASQ, that generally is administered maybe every 3 to 6 months, depending on the age of the kid. And so we're able to set goals. If we know it's speech, we can set goals with the kiddo. We can set goals for the parent to work with the kiddo on those particular things. And so being able to, offer those, we have a captive audience for many hours during the day, and so we're able to really work on things. And being smaller allows us to offer that individualized time with the kiddo throughout the day. If we had 10 to 20 kids, we'd have more staff members, but it would also look a lot different for that experience for the kid.
Well, as we wrap things up, I want to go back to what we talked about at the very beginning about being for St. Charles and being a part of your community. And this happens with you all. You teamed up with Upshot Coffee, which is local to the St. Charles area, also in the St. Louis area. Talk to me a little bit more about that, because now your name is associated with Upshot, and then Upshot can talk about the Sparrow's Nest, and then it just goes and goes and goes.
Yeah, so at my former organization and also going to North Road Church, I saw that there were different blends and labels and things that were still Upshot, and I got super excited. I, wanted a coffee. I wanted a label, with our organization on it. So when I came to the Sparrow's Nest, that was one of the first things I was like, we're going to do this. We're going to have our own coffee. And so I got a hold of Upshot, the brewer, not the brewer, the roaster.
Yeah.
Yes, Tom Whitehill. And I just asked him, I'm like, hey, what do we got to do to have, kind of our own bean, our own label? He's like, oh, that's easy. Oh, it really was that simple. So we purchased, they bag it, they do all of it, bag it, print the labels, everything like that. And then we purchase at a price, and then they give us a recommended, upcharge. And so we sell it at that. And I'm always looking for opportunities for passive income for the Sparrow's Nest.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so you said that you can purchase that through your website, which is...
Yeah, only through us. So
okay.
Upshot themselves, they don't sell our coffee at all.
Okay.
We get it from them. And so, so if somebody goes to our website and it clicks I think it's the Donate Now button.
Okay.
One bag, it's 12 ounces whole bean, is $18. Our coffee mugs are, I think, $12. I would have to double check that. But
Okay.
you can buy, I kind of call it the early bird bundle for $25.
Nice.
Yeah, so you can get both. And then we have an event coming up on September 27th. It's our annual fundraising dinner or banquet. It's at Old Hickory, so it's a Friday night. And if you go to our website, thesparrowsneststl.org, you can purchase tickets to the banquet, and then you can add on, through Eventbrite is where the tickets are purchased, you can add on coffee or a mug or the bundle and then pick it up that night of the banquet.
So you are still looking for people to purchase tickets for that.
We are. So VIP tickets have been available for a couple weeks now.
Okay.
It's $50 for a regular ticket, $75 for VIP. VIP is a limited number of tickets. So we're in Old Hickory, there's a room downstairs. It'll be 1 hour of appetizers, open bar, and a meet and greet with our featured guest. Her name is Jennifer Maggio. She's the founder of The Life of a Single Mom out of Baton Rouge. They have served over 1 million single moms down there. Her testimony is on YouTube. It is incredible. You will not have dry eyes after watching her testimony. I cannot wait to host her at our banquet. We're hoping to sell out 320 tickets or more. We could add tables. There's still a little more room. It's when it comes to nonprofit and fundraising and budgeting, most nonprofits have many opportunities throughout the year for fundraising, but there's usually that one big fundraiser, the banquet, or different organizations, it's different things. So when you think about, if you as your even the church, you as your income at home, if you only got paid once a year, how would you budget? What were the stressors that you might feel those 11 months of the year of, spending money, making sure you're not, in the red, and just all those things. And that's every, nonprofit, every organization. That's, so it's really, really important that we sell our tickets. And of course there'll be an ask at the event. That's, typical. But our goal, we've kind of tossed around, an idea for a goal. I would really love to bring in 100,000. That would be incredible. That would, with moving and how much other locations might cost and all of those kinds of things, to be able to have really successful events would allow us to really, really plan, for the future. I'm hoping within the next year we will be able to really identify another location. And we're always open, to consider partnerships if, there's a church that really doesn't do anything in their building during the week. If there is, a strip mall and somebody's, leasing a space and they have, kind of an open space. There are some requirements, for it to be a childcare facility, but, we're open to being creative. Most importantly, we want to be in a location that is where the individuals we'd be serving near them, so that they're not driving an hour round trip, just to drop their kiddo off.
And then speaking of those individuals that are in need, they would still go to your website to learn more?
Yep.
All
we
right.
have a button that says learn more.
Look at that.
Yep.
Make it easy for them.
Yep. And I encourage anyone to fill out the interest form. We'll get a hold of them. We'll talk to them about the program. Right now we are pending full. We've been full for a little bit. We have had some come and go. We recently had a mom who adore her kiddo, little angel, who she was on her second car that, broke down in the few months that she was in the program. 2 cars. Cost more to fix it than it's worth. And she had to stop working, had to unenroll. I even put out on our social media, if somebody was able to donate a working car to us, I would give them a year of coffee for free. It's just anything to just, help her family, help her to work, be able to get her back, her kiddo at the nest. But some things are out of our control.
Yeah, but that's where we can just pray. We can talk to others. We can spread the news. And that's what we're going to keep doing. So thank you so much for sharing your story, for what you're doing. I can tell the passion that you have. And this community is a different place because of it. So thank you so much.